I mean, that was actually while we were writing this album, right after COVID. I mean, the war hit Ukraine, and so Andre is basically, he's from Russia, but living in Ukraine with his wife and his family in Chernihiv. So it's basically the triangle where they came in. So when we first found out about this whole thing going on, we tried to contact him, of course, and he wasn't responding. So there was like sort of a few days or weeks even where we didn't know, is he alive? Didn't know. And then finally we got some reply that, they're basically sitting in their basement, and trying to survive. So there was like, I think it was going for a month that every day when we received a message from him, everyone was on the phone the whole day. Like, did you hear anything from him? And as soon as we heard something, we were like, okay, good, he's still alive. So, and then there came that time where of course he said they need to get out because it's getting worse and worse and worse. So they need to move. But there was not that time slot, that time frame where they were able to leave because everything was fucked up. I mean, there were troops everywhere. The roads are fucked up. Everything is destroyed. So luckily at one day one day he wrote me that they are able to get like a, let's say, minivan. And then they drove towards the Polish border, and our producer Matis and I, when he wrote us that they're going to be there the other day, we just went into the car and we went to Poland and picked him up with his family. Of course, I mean, that threw us big time. Like, talking about it, it shivers myself and I get goosebumps because it's horrible and devastating to see that happen to someone that is so close to you. And then of course we have a big relationship with these countries. I mean, we toured Russia a lot, we toured Ukraine a lot. Everything of that is gone now, obviously, which is, doesn't mean anything. There's other problems that are way bigger, and we just can't tour there. I mean, but it's sad for the people that something happens like that in these times. And so yeah, we were really, like, I don't know, frustrated. I don't know if that's the right word, but like, we stopped touring. There was COVID, we couldn't tour. Then my house got flooded in 2021, and now Andre's sitting there in a war, and all of that while we write an album. So of course, I mean, that maybe is also the reason why this album turned out to be so aggressive, because we definitely needed to have some output of our emotions, and that's why we came up with such aggressive and fast songs. And yeah, also, like, lyric wise, very motivating as well. We try to always motivate people to say, stop that bullshit, it's stupid, like, that we need to go through something like that, or people need to go through something like that. And when I went to that Polish border, it broke my heart, like, to see people leaving with just a plastic bag and 2 kids on their shoulders. Stuff like that you don't get to see, that often, only on the TV. But you always think like, oh, that's far away. But hell no, it's not far away. It's right here. It's that's what we are facing. And it's really sad that the world is still, such a fucked up place, to be honest.
Yeah. Was he actually living in an occupied part of the Ukraine? So were the Russian troops actually occupying the area where he lived?
I mean, they were destroying the fucking place. Yeah, I mean, there was like, I always, like, it sounds so stupid, but that's what it is. Like, that's the stories my grandma told me, like, when I was younger, that when they got bombed in Cologne, she was living in Cologne during Second World War. So there's not a difference in between, like, Andre was sitting there for a month and they got bombed, and there were troops and there were fights, like, on the street. Like, if you leave your home, you could die from a fucking machine gun, so yeah, I mean, he was, like, luckily not affected directly, but I know, for instance, that a lot of people he knew from this city where he was living in died during that fucking war. So yeah, it's very, very bad.
Yeah. We will play that song. By the time we play this in audio, we'll be able to use it. So we will play that song. But can I just ask you, as his bandmate, how it's affected him emotionally and how as a friend, and also being Russian and all that sort of stuff, and living in Ukraine obviously would complicate things more for him emotionally. So I guess I'll just ask you that, and then we'll play that song.
I mean, to be honest, it always has been a little difficult for him to be a Russian citizen, especially with the name he has. I mean, Andre Smirnov, that name exists, I don't know how many times in Russia. So, I mean, it's also this fact, that sometimes bothers me a lot. Like, he would be the one who sits down at a border control, like not the Germans or not the English people or whoever, it's him, the Russian guy, of course, we take him to the side and we're going to talk to him. So first of all, it ever has been like that. And then the war, of course, I mean, to be honest, I think it's not that easy and not possible to get over it, in such a short time. So he's still in the process of trying to, put it somewhere. I don't know. And he puts it out, of course, in his music, and you can definitely hear that, I think. But I mean, I think he's just lucky that he's just happy that him and his family is alive. That's first of all. Secondly, now they built their new life here in Germany. So I think for him it's sort of good that he's in contact with us even more. It's not that far away. We can work, easier and stuff like that. So of course it has also some plus points, but I mean, if you leave your home, I mean, he just left everything behind, and I couldn't imagine that. I don't want to imagine it. It's horrible, and but yeah, I mean, he got very sensitive as well. And when we talk a lot and we try to be there for him, and that's what we did when all that stuff started. So that's what we try to do, and whenever he needs us, we will be there, just as friends and not as working partners or whatever. So I think that's as much as we can do at that point. And I just hope that him and his family can, sort of leave it behind at some point of their lives.